welcome back to the YouTube. We've got legs today. Obviously, I train legs pretty much every day, so you probably think, oh, she trains legs all the time, or all we ever see is leg day. That is because 5 out of 6 sessions are legs, which is great. It's obviously, they are rotated to make sure that I have enough rest days in between to be able to recover-ish. My recovery wasn't good at the start of the week. I'm feeling a bit better now. My sleep was a little bit better, so we're in a good place. So today is the RDL, I think RDL, depending on what Cooper wants to do, because when we had the stem cells, he had an injection in his back, so he's feeling a little bit fragile. So we'll just see if that's what he wants to do. But it's supposed to be barbell RDL and the Cybex leg press as our main compounds today. There's just a mixed variety of hamstring, glutes and quads. But my other sessions, my glute sessions, are obviously more glute focused. Yes, I do movements that are going to use my quads in my glute session, but primarily they will be glute focused regardless of what type of exercise it is that I am doing. So today you're going to see a mixed variety of glutes, adductors-ish, as we get some bias on those, quads and hamstrings. So we're going to have a wonderful session training with Mark and Cuba. I'm sure that we're in for a big session, and I'll try and be stronger than Mark, as I always am. Sorry, Mark. Oh, what a back. That's decent. The reason that I just had my what are they called? Fist there was because then I can actually get a little bit of a stretch. If not, I kind of stop here, whereas then I can stop here if I have my fist there. I can't be bothered to go and get my yoga blocks. So I just use my fucking fists. Exercise number 1 is lying leg curls. We actually used to start with seated leg curls, so if he was changed his mind, and we're doing lying leg curls now. Don't know if we'll do seated leg curl on this session. Quite nice to have a little bit of variety in the sessions, because the other session we started with seated leg curl, so it's just nice to actually have lying to begin with. So that's the first time I've tested lying leg curl for a little bit of time, going in fresh. Actually pretty strong. Same kind of tips as usual. Tummy that tight that you feel like your tummy's coming away from the pad. Quads into the pad as minimal hip shift as possible. You're going to get some fully straighten the legs, fully drive the legs over as far as they can go when the hamstring comes about 25% into your hamstring. And that might sound a bit scientific, but when you feel it, you'll feel it. You don't want to be hitting the leg pad on your bum, because for me, and I think scientifically, you would take tension off the hammy as soon as you bang at the top. So just aiming to keep that drag, squeeze at the top, and then extending all the way out, a slight mini pause before dragging back in. Simple, effective, keep your kneecaps to the floor, don't let them splay out or splay in, so you can keep as much tension on your hamstring as possible to make it as hard as possible, the big, massive hamstring. I thought that I'd take a little bit of a break away from this video just to talk about the ways in which you can work with me. First of all, we have online coaching, both from a competitive perspective to lifestyle. We also have our Empower program, which is the 12-week challenges based upon what your individual goals are, would be depending on whether for the 12 weeks we focus on dieting or potentially growing. And we also have the Excellence program, a program designed to help you further your education when it comes to all things bodybuilding. Please feel free to drop a comment below, DM me on Instagram, or send me an email, which is in my bio on my Instagram, so that we can communicate, talk about getting you set up with your journey with me. With this one, you do want to keep your back pad quite far back. I used to do it where I tried to align my, and again this is not science, I used to align my knee with the pivot point. I now do, but it's almost like this front bit of my knee. It gives me less pain in my knee and it allows me to get way more stretch when I'm obviously in the stretch with my heels as far back as they can possibly go. A really common mistake that lots of people make is trying to push their knees out when they drive up with their shins and when they come back down. It's basically trying to cheat it because it makes it much less, well, it makes it less hard on the quads. So if you can keep your knees pointing up towards the ceiling, it will keep lots and lots of tension on your quads, making it as hard as possible, making sure that you can get them extra voluminous, massive quads that you want. That weren't going anywhere, bloody bastard. So that was the rest pause set for my second set. Little intensifier there, get my quads extra massive, so we don't do enough volume. I use my knee sleeves for compounds, not for isolations. I don't really think that they're too taxing on the joints. Probably going a bit too heavy if they are. Just use them for leg press. I only do single ply. I find that the dual ply or the thicker ones just give you a little bit of bounce out the hole. I don't want to make my movements easier. I just want to have my joints a little bit warm. Exercise is leg press. As I said on my vlog that you have already watched, I don't want to sacrifice my form and my tempo for maybe just feeling a little bit sore. So I'm a little bit intuitive at the minute with how often I train legs. if I have to pull back my load a little bit, then I do that, because essentially training 4 times a week, is it realistic to expect progressions every single session? Absolutely not, no. However, is it a kick to my ego that there isn't? Absolutely yes. So I'm very smart and I am intuitive, and my things do progress pretty well, but I just have to make sure that all my joints are feeling good whilst I'm doing it.
Come on. Strong. Control. Oh! Come on. Control. And power. Yeah.
Leg press. So as you can see from the video, I use a stance that is comfortable and strong. So on my other session, on the Nitram leg press, God, you can tell I'm dyslexic, can't you? I literally just flipped. On the Nitram leg press, I do a quad focus stance where I am as narrow as my hips so that my toes, knees and hips totally align. And I aim to get as much knee flexion as possible. Obviously on this leg press, I am aiming to get as much knee flexion as possible, knees over the toes, as much depth as possible. However, I'm just choosing a stance that is strong and powerful. Again, just for a little bit of variety compared to obviously doing the quad focus stance on the other one. It allows me to get great depth. My knees are still traveling over my toes. However, because I am and do have my legs a little bit wider, I probably am going to hit my adductor a little bit more than obviously when I have my legs a little bit narrower. When I do have my legs narrower, I will still use my adductor, but when my legs are wider, I will use them more. Hopefully that makes sense to all of you. So that is my choice of leg press for today. Have a go if you've got this type of leg press. See how you get on. Try and get 8 plates of 10. 50 million people probably put below. It's easy, Meg. I also had someone comment saying, why do you not make noise when you train? If I make noise, and maybe I'll make like a little bit sometimes, but not very often, it really puts me off. And when someone shouts at me really loud, it really puts me off. So, just know. I'm used to sports where we say nothing, and like diving was literally, all you could hear was like this whip of someone's hair in the air. That was the only noise you could hear. So my goal is obviously to downsize my upper. I saw my best friend yesterday. Ashton, you watch this, so this is because you bastard said to me yesterday, went, your waist would probably look a little bit narrower if it wasn't for the fact that, like, you know, your lower lat and your rectus is really thick. I was like, fuck me. It's a good job I can take criticism. First things first, please continue to be super honest with me as you have been for the last 15, 16, 18 years that I've known you. But he's right. I need to get over the fact that I don't need to be doing things that really tax my erectors, and as much as an RDL is a very good glute ham movement, you are going to get a lot of erector. So I will succumb to the fact that I will just do it on one session now and just use the hip thrust to grow my bottom and get over myself. So yeah, going on the glute drive, I'm going to go through some pointers, but I'm going to think about something different compared to what I usually think about or talk about, because I feel like I talk about it all the time. keeping your shins vertical. We talk about it often on any glute focused movement, but if you want to keep as much tension in your glutes, and again, I'm going to reiterate the fact that on a lift like this, am I still going to get a little bit of adductor? Am I still going to use my hamstring to stabilize myself? Am I still going to use a little bit of quad? Yeah, but is the main focus of the exercise in the glute? Absolutely yes. What I like to do is the first few times that you do it, so whether it be on a barbell, a Smith machine, hip thrust, a glute drive, what you might want to do is line it up for what is a vertical shin for you. Put a little marker point on it and then just put your heels to it every single time. When you get used to the feel, what you'll learn to feel is when you're in the position before you kind of load yourself up off the machine to start your set, you'll feel like the kind of top of your calf is right into the top of your hamstring. And that will mean that you stay at about 90 degrees with your knee. And then obviously you should stay vertical with that as well. I try to think about when I'm coming down, not really letting my hips travel backwards. It's not a seesaw movement, which is forwards and backwards and up and down. It is just up and down, like a squat. On this one, I try to think hips down and forwards as I come down, rather than down and back. I don't really think about just coming straight down, because if I do that, I still do travel down and back. So I try to think down and forwards. It creates a little bit of stretch through the quads, which you are not biasing your quads, focusing on your quads. If you do that, it's just a nice stretch. When you come down, your shins will stay vertical. As you drive up, I like to think up and a little bit forwards. And again, my shins stay vertical. It means that I use a lot of glute and a whole lot of not much else. The range of motion, I think when you first start hip thrust, you probably want to start with the range of motion being a little bit shorter so that you can learn how to use your glutes. And then as you learn the movement of keeping the shin vertical, you can then start to make that range of motion a little bit bigger, and essentially you'll use your glutes a little bit more. But I do think, for me personally, I scaled it back by obviously taking off some load. The range of motion wasn't short to the point where you're like, what the fuck are you doing? But it was shorter. And then I eventually got to the point where I was going a little bit further up and down, which obviously is going to use a little bit more glute. But I'm still able to keep my shin vertical because I learned how to do it. Hopefully that spiel was not too long, and hopefully it wasn't too confusing. My glutes definitely aren't recovered from 2 days ago. Before I do my last set, if you can't tell, I'm very off season. And I keep getting lots of questions asking me when I'm competing this year. I'm not. Before people start asking more questions, I have been competing since I was 22 when I started, and I've pretty much been back to back since then when it comes to dieting. Whether that be with a competition prep or at least an aggressive diet within the year. I think I've only missed like pretty much a season of competing since then. And that's obviously very taxing on the female body. And also, I've obviously been assisted since I was 25. So I want to give my body a little bit of a break from that. Also, I have a lot of things to change with my physique, in that my upper body needs to downsize and my lower body needs to then balance out a little bit more to my upper, because my glutes do not build that easily. It's going to take some time for me to be able to do that, so I'm not afraid to take a little bit of time off to be able to do that. Plus, as I mentioned in previous videos, I'd prefer to not go back on assistance in the future. I prefer to stay natural, so I'm going to take the year to do that and then probably start things from the end of the year. There will be a small diet at some point this year to be able to make sure I'm tidy and make sure that I am still very insulin sensitive. So we'll take you along for the ride with that one. But actually competing season this year will not happen. I'm sure that people are very disappointed. I'm just kidding. But if you're someone who's having struggles mentally with wanting to take time off, don't. It makes you no less of an athlete. Judges don't forget about you. The reasons that probably a judge will be annoyed at you if you come back and actually look the same and haven't listened to the feedback that they're actually giving to you. I mean, I'm not really anybody, but I'm sure that they'd probably be very annoyed, and I probably wouldn't get placed where I want to place if I came back looking the same. So Now it's about downsizing my upper and increasing a little bit of lower body volume, which will take time. I do not grow easily. People that have been joining or been along my journey for the long run has known that it's taken a long time for me to build my muscle to be able to get to where I want to be in terms of competing. So it's going to take some time to make the adjustments that's needed. I'm not someone that likes to get on stage and looks the same as before. I want to make improvements. And right now, that's not about getting bigger. It's about changing my physique to sculpt it to be in a position that is right for the class that I am. I mean, if you're someone who's an amateur and you want to look great and you want to become a pro, but you want to compete season to season and potentially not the 1% genetic elite, potentially you need to have an honest conversation with yourself or your coach regarding what's going to be the best for you. And if you're a female and you need to take some time off from dieting, and especially some time off potentially from assistance use, if it's been in for a long time, do it. You can go back. It doesn't take, as long as you've done it smart. It shouldn't have really affected you, but if you need some time off from that and you want some, you should take that. I thought my hip was going to fall off. I should have dropped that. Oh, I refuse to do less than 10 reps. That is the end of my session. Hopefully you enjoyed legs. Haven't filmed that one for a while. Obviously it's a little bit different to how we did it before anyway. That was the one that used to have the barbell RDL. I explained why I'm not doing a barbell RDL on this session. I am still doing my dumbbell banded RDL because my ego still needs a little bit of a rub at times. At least I am honest. Anything but honest. So, you know the plan of attack for this year with my competing. You know the plan of attack. It's just to essentially be in a surplus for a little bit of time. Then we're going to get lean and look extra fit. Just kidding. Busy season this year with my clients, both competing and non. So that's going to be awesome. Really excited for all of that. Continuing to develop myself in terms of education with different courses that I'm actually signed up for, which is very exciting. Busy year. It's going to be awesome. I'll take you along for the ride. That's the end of my session. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I'll be back again soon.